Barry, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on the series.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about me.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, by the way, is a great line. Tell me about me. The show is a coming of age story of a someday superhero. What we really wanted to sort of explore was the sort of the head and the heart that makes someone who they become. And for us, it was, and I say us, I mean for my family, it was really inspired by our own family's experience. My son is the youngest, and he's 2 years younger than identical twin sisters. And he always looked like a triplet because he was tall, and it sort of was like the coolest thing ever, except that he didn't quite fit and it wasn't who he was. And so it became a conversation, then it became a bedtime story, and then it just became this idea: if you could be anyone in the world, who would you be? And all of a sudden, thus the show sort of came about. And so for me, anyways, it was always written as a love letter to them, and being able to sort of capture their sort of childhood in this fantastical superhero story.
That's something that's always fascinated me about writers on TV and movies is their opportunity really to you take their life experiences and expand it in different ways that you don't really get the opportunity in some cases. And in some times it can even be very therapeutic or very liberating or just a good hug to remember a great time. What did you experience in your time writing this and reflecting on your own family?
I mean, it was certainly joyful, and it I think it pushed me to become sort of more of an emotional writer than I had been in the past. I mean, I was traditionally writing paranoid thrillers and action thrillers, and so being able to sort of capture these sort of intimate moments of family and vulnerability and authenticity that we sort of always knew was where the show was going to separate itself, and that's really what drove me from the start.
Yeah, now Ben's going through a lot. I mean, there's he's changes in his family, he's schools. I mean, changes probably happening in his body and everything, and then gets superpowers. Where do you? I mean, they're almost really like kind of a symbiotic relationship. So it's like if
100%.
everything's gonna go wrong, let it all happen at once. Well, how do you when you're putting this together balance that to make sure that one's not really toppling over the other?
Yeah, no, it was a balancing act, to be sure. I think for us, it really was this idea that, and it comes out as the series evolves, but that super heroic or superpowers stem from some sort of genetic predisposition, but also from trauma. That we are sort of defined by our circumstances, to some degree. And so for Ben, that constant newness, that constant sort of collective trauma is what triggered it.
Yeah, I mean, I could I could easily see why. I myself, I have a 13-year-old daughter who's going through quite a bit right now, but we are very supportive with her, and she seems to be handling it fairly well. But it's also great to watch series like this with her because she
Yeah.
can reflect on it and then probably have an open conversation. So I do look forward to watching it with her. And so with all this going on, I think my next question was going to be, you need to have the right actor, the right lead. You have Lucian as Ben. Tell me what makes him the right lead for your show.
Yeah, so I had seen, well, when he came in, I was sort of blown away. But then I went, because I was so taken with his performance in this movie, Encounter with Riz Ahmed, that he did, and he had these sort of deep, soulful eyes, as though like there was something more, there was a history there and an understanding. And I knew that what we really needed here was to not sort of play with the sort of tried and true. We wanted someone whose performance felt real and it felt authentic and grounded. And so that was what we were casting for. And he was everything. There really was nothing, no one around who could sort of measure up. And then we went to cast for his stepsister, and Abby and he had this chemistry from the very first time we put them face to face. It felt like this sort of sibling bickering and chemistry and banter, and it was like, oh my god, they sort of came to life and they became their own. And it got so incredible that even from the very first days they met, we had done a table read on like day one or day two of their meeting each other face to face, and lo and behold, we were like, oh my god, we have to write more. we have to write more. And so in the pilot episode, there's a dinner table scene that didn't exist in the script that we were starting to go into production with. We built to make sure that we gave them enough to sort of really do to sort of fit their sort of what was special about them, which was always in their eyes. They could do things without us having to write dialogue that would sort of make you cringe of going, oh man, we really hung our actors out to dry. We didn't have to do any of that sort of stuff to make it clear they were doing it, that was playing on their faces.
That's always so great when you can find the right chemistry in actors. It's interesting because it does remind me the fact that, you know, a lot of people will take a look at kind of the synopsis of what we're doing here, and it's like, oh, he gets superpowers, and so maybe you might think like, oh, it's gonna not very relatable. But I think for me, for example, one of my favorite Superman stories is where him as Clark Kent and then Batman as Bruce Wayne with their significant others go to the fair. Has nothing to do
Right.
with superheroes, or with him and his son on a ranch, and exploring their humanity then elevates them so much better as heroes. Why is it important to connect, for us to connect with their humanity before we see the amazing alter egos or powers that they obtain?
So Manny, I'll tell you, like from the very first time I sat down with Apple, I said to them, I am going to walk you through the idea for what I think is the Apple cinematic universe. And we're going to get to know them. We're going to get to know them as people. We're going to get to know them as people as they grow into who they are. And so the whole idea of the series, me, is to sort of look back and say, these are the moments that made me who I became. It's all the fairground episodes. It's all the sort of the double dating. It's all those moments because that's really where your head and your heart go, that sort of take the power that you've been given into the person that you're going to become. And that was always the point. So I was sort of thrilled when you brought that example up of that one about, you know, Bruce Wayne and all, because I feel like that's kind of what we wanted to do here from the start, is explain to you over the course of, look, if we're so fortunate, and knock wood, we love you, Apple. If we are, this would be how Ben Vasani becomes the household name years from now.
Yeah, and we love that. And honestly, it's something I do love about Apple. And I got a few minutes to, but I did want to ask you what makes Apple such a great partner, especially with sci-fi. They seem to be giving creators there a lot of leeway with a lot of their ideas as far as sci-fi. And there's not too many places that really that buy into it too much. But Apple TV, Apple seems to be very pro sci-fi, and I love that myself as a fan of the genre.
Yeah, look, I mean, I love a lot of what they do for sure. I mean, I would say it's even a broader sort of thing, is that the executives that I worked with, Tara Sorensen in the family group in particular, allowed me to be me, and allowed an openness and a sort of a trust, you know, from the creative on the page to the production throughout. You know, we really were given this sort of trust that this, no, River is the right, you know, character. This is who the performer, this is who we want. This is how we want to make this show, and this is how it'll be special. And we were supported start to finish.
Barry, I really think that Ben's going to be winning over a lot of people, a lot of audiences, and I really believe that you and I will be talking again for a second season. Thank you so much for your time. I
All
appreciate
right.
it so
Thank you so
much.
much. Take care, Manny.
Take care.